morning, everyone. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lincoln Government Day, September 6th. I'll say it, I get in trouble for saying it, but goodness gracious, I can't believe it's September 6th. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe. His left, Jenny Chambers, Director of Public Works. Commissioner Candace Payne, to my right, and Under Sheriff Brent Colbert. And I want to make sure to point out our fellow elected official, Zach Worth, is here today, representative. And I think, do you represent this Lincoln area?
Yes, I do.
Yes, okay.
I do now, and I will after the election.
Good. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. We'll have some other introductions as we go forward here. So, anything, commissioners, off the bat you'd like to bring up? If not, we'll jump right into reports, and I'll turn it over to Under Sheriff Colbert. All right.
Sure.
Good morning, sir.
I suppose we have to stand up here, is that correct?
Yes, please. Thank you for the reminder. We're on video, and we're trying to do it right. If people, I'll just interrupt it before you even get started. Again, for those that don't remember, we are required to video all of our meetings now and post them. We have a YouTube site. We post all of our meetings on there within 5 days. And so we're trying to do it right. But if anyone wants to talk when we have public comment time, we'd ask you to come up to the podium, state your name, and we'll make sure we get you recorded properly. And we also have a backup voice recording here as well. So, Under Sheriff, sorry, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. Good morning, Under Sheriff Brent Colbert. Sheriff is sorry he couldn't be here today. He was appointed a long time ago as the chair for Montana Board of Crime Control, and this is the week that they're having their big meeting, so that is where he is at today, and he wishes you all well. Talked to him this morning. Stuff going on at the Sheriff's Office, always busy. We have, if you noticed on all of our social media, and maybe some other places, we just hired 4 new deputies that started their training process. And so again, that takes some time. 2 of them were already law enforcement officers somewhere else, which means they do not have to go to the academy because they have already been there, which shortens up their training by 12 weeks. So we go through our intensive FTO program, field training officer program, which they started last week. So they should be out on their own, hopefully, in 20 weeks. So that's just how long it takes to get that done. So we're happy to have them aboard. We are always in the process of hiring new detention officers. That seems to be the hot topic of getting people to do that very hard job. I am happy to say that we interviewed several in the last week or so. So we are getting people who are interested in the job and going to be coming on, which will be a relief for all the people who are there right now. Speaking of the detention center, it has been very full lately. Not so much on our account, it's more on the Department of Corrections account. They are our people that have been sentenced to prison or some part of the Department of Corrections. As everywhere else, the Department of Corrections is full. So it's hard for them to get their people out of our jail to go to a very already full prison or wherever the program that they're going to. They are working on that, and they did do me a solid and got some of our people out of there because we were running close to 200 for several weeks, but now we're back down to the 160-ish area. So that did help us quite a bit. So we are full. I know the chair said that he couldn't believe that it was September already. I am glad that it's September already. that the weather is going to be cooler, and maybe we'll get rid of some of the smoke, and maybe we'll get rid of some of this fire danger that still exists, which leads me to my next thing, is we still have fire danger. I see Zach showed up right there. We do still, it is still very dry, and it is still very hot, and I'm sure that he'll say that in his report, but we still need to be very careful of what we're doing out there, because other seasons start, like hunting season and all of that kind of stuff, but we still need to be careful with what we do out in the open areas with fire and fire danger. So with that, do I have any questions? Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm gonna hold you up, see if there's any questions from the commission first here. Any questions for,
I have a comment.
if you please?
I really appreciate you showing up so we don't have to listen to Leo's jokes. So thank you.
Commissioner, I do have some jokes that I've been giving to the control guys every day, and they told me not to say.
That was all.
So, with that, if there is public comment or public questions, you're welcome, but I need you to come up and state your name for the record, if you would, please.
You want me to-
Yes, please, yeah, if you would, please.
We gotta put you on video, Pat.
Yeah, it's the rules.
Pat Hagan, resident here in town. Just wanted to know when we're gonna get our full-time sheriff.
Oh, yeah, thank you for that.
So,
Thank you, Pat. The deputy that we did hire for this area, for the Lincoln area, is probably starting his second phase of the field training officer program phase. He's doing very well so far, and he's got 2 more phases to go, so you're still looking at probably another 6 months maybe before you get your resident guy up here. So in the meantime, we do have Deputy Steiner, who is up here and doing an awesome job. And we also have the Wolf Creek deputy, who obviously comes up here quite a bit because a lot of the calls are here, especially now that summer is winding down and he's not stuck at Holter Lake. So he will also be up here. You'll be seeing him also, and I'm sure you have throughout the summer. But still a ways out.
Thank you. How about other public comment or questions for the sheriff's office? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Sheriff Van. Yes, I have to eat some humble pie because I can't remember.
Jesse Short.
Jesse Short, yes. Highway Patrol.
Good morning, I'm Jesse Short. I used to be the Lincoln Trooper, now I'm just a Helena Trooper, just a regular Helena Trooper for the area. So with the end of the summer coming up, there's going to be probably an increase in crashes. People running through fences, driving into your hotels. So if you see a crash, please report it as quickly as possible, so that we can get up here and investigate it as quickly as possible. I am in the area quite a bit, obviously because I live here. So I do quite a bit of enforcement on Highway 200. I generally cover, for those of you that don't know, I generally cover area from Clearwater Junction over to Missoula County to the Cascade County line next to Augusta and on Highway 200, all the way down to Boulder. Okay, so I have a very large area to cover. So if you don't see me a lot, I'm working, don't worry. I just can't be everywhere all at once. And as you might be aware, depending on how much you're on social media, the Highway Patrol does have kind of a slump in numbers right now, but we are hiring more people. So does anybody have any questions for me?
I
Yes, sir.
just so for those that might not understand how it works, but you started with crashes.
Yes, sir.
And the Highway Patrol responds to pretty much all crashes on Montana highways, right?
Yes, sir. Everywhere outside.
Right, okay. Outside of the cities, is that what it is?
For us, Helena PD's the only other agency that works crashes, and the only work crashes inside of the city. And East Helena does, but they're kind of low numbers right now.
Right, so, for example, if the sheriff's office is the first on scene, still the Highway Patrol has to come and investigate and kind of deal with that crash on the highway somewhere, right?
Yes, sir. The Montana code says anything over 1,000 left will be damaged, which these days is just about anything. If you have main transfer on your vehicle is probably going to be a crash. If we can't get to you, Deputy Steiner will let me know what's going on, and we can advise you the white form, and we'll give you the information to fill that out yourself.
how the different jurisdictions work and all that. Anything else, commissioners, first? Okay, now, come on up, please, and introduce yourself for the record so we have it recorded properly. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Amber, I'm with Public Health in Helena, but I just had a follow-up question. I was wondering if there were trends, as far as vehicle crashes were concerned. Is it, alcohol-related, speed, cell phones, icy weather conditions? I'm just curious to know, what causes crashes and how we can communicate to our public to maybe figure out how we can prevent.
Thank you.
So, the majority of crashes in Montana are, I think it's about 7%, are drug and alcohol related.
70?
7%. And that's our fatality numbers. I would say that it's pretty much trends with our regular crash numbers as well as non-entry and injury. Okay. The biggest issue we have in Montana is people don't wear their seatbelts. As some of you know, if I see you not wearing a seatbelt, I cannot pull you over for that. The legislature has put that into law, that it is not a primary stoppable offense. I don't enforce seatbelts a lot because of that. They've kind of made it clear that it's not a huge deal compared to other states. But if you do wear your seatbelt, you are much more likely to not be injured. So we do have a lot of crashes where the injuries stem from not wearing seatbelts. But the majority of crashes are alcohol and drug related. Obviously we have testing that we conduct. The drug related ones sometimes are a bit a bit more difficult to investigate. But recently in Lincoln and Helena, there's been a rise in cocaine use and methamphetamine. So alcohol, DUIs kind of stay where they're at. They're pretty common, but drugs are becoming a bigger issue now that we have heavy enforcement on I-90 corridors. People are starting to transfer drugs down Highway 200, down to I-15, and all that stuff like that. Did that answer your question, man?
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Please.
Do I have to go up there?
No?
Okay.
No, you're good.
You're,
Just kidding.
that's not you, fella. Things happen. The seatbelt issue, is that something that our learned legislature that has made it less of an offense if you want to kill yourself by a vehicle by not wearing your seatbelt? Is that possibly going to be readdressed in the upcoming legislative session, or do you have anything to say about that?
I don't believe it will be addressed, ma'am. Our biggest thing right now that the Colonel was pushing is that fleeing from the police in Montana is a misdemeanor, and we're pushing for that to become a felony because in the Helena area, I believe we've had 10 pursuits in the last 2 months. So that's kind of our pressing issue. We have to pick one at a time. So I can't speak to what the Colonel or the Department of Justice is doing specifically, but from what I understand, that's our big push right now. The seatbelt thing will always be a fight, and we do enforce that, some more heavily than others. But I try to find bigger offenses like speed, especially here in the crosswalk area, the school zone, and the senior citizen area. That's something that I see that's going to hurt other people as well.
If you have ideas on things that our citizens or the commissioners could do to help law enforcement, and if that means going up and talking to the legislators or our legislator that was courageous enough to show up here today, we would be glad to help out.
I appreciate
So
that.
keep us in mind if we should
Thank you.
need some backup.
Yes, ma'am. Does anybody else have any questions for me?
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. oh no, it's not Mr. Yarbrough, it's Mr. Zach.
Mr. Sapp.
Community Council, Mr. Zach.
Zach Neese, Chair of Community Council, among other things. Not a lot, really, that wasn't public works as usual. Weeds were an issue, and it's a horrible year this year everywhere with weeds. Just how the winter and spring and everything went. Definitely showing up more, but I know we've got some serious issues in this particular area in the middle of town that need to be addressed, and I think they've been called in and whatnot. It's, you know, the way it's handled is they get a letter, they get warned, and if they spray 2 weeds, then they're making progress, and so it takes time, but, that was an issue. The dump was we talked about the rates for the transfer station out here, them just going up because of the cost of everything, and then I don't know where we're at with it, maybe commissioners can answer on that, but Republic Services, who picks up the garbage and takes it away from the transfer station and all that, is good. The contract's up for renewal, and it's not looking good. So just kind of be aware of the potential for everybody's, would that be on the taxes, right? Or would that, would the taxes would go up for the cost of the them hauling it? Is that what it would be?
Right, your solid waste fees are on your,
Okay.
on your
So,
tax bill, general and 70.
as always, taxes may go up again. Other than that, a couple local road issues that we addressed. I guess on that issue, for the county, our public works, there's roads, and I know Kevin has talked about it, Jenny has talked about it. We don't, the question always comes up on certain roads, how come we don't get this graded, or we don't get road service on this area? Just keep in mind where you live. If you're in a housing development, you're at Lone Point, or Lincoln Springs, or Abe Lincoln, whatever, there's other smaller areas in town as people are moving here. If you're in a association or whatever, the county doesn't address those roads. That's entirely up to you, and if you ever have the desire to get your roads graded or magged or whatever, the RIDs, just like we have for the paving in town, and 4x4 has one, there's other areas. If you want to get your neighbors and whatnot together and want to address those issues and come up with a plan for an RID, talk to Public Works. Jessica Makis handles all that, but it seems to come up quite often. Usually in town, someone will say, I'm tired of my road not getting graded, but the road next to us does. Well, it's because that's a county road and yours is not. And I'll let Jenny follow up on that when she does her Public Works deal. To piggyback kind of on Jesse's about the seat belts and doing what we do, you can't imagine some of the vehicles and the wrecks that we've seen where there's no way someone could live through that, not even remotely a chance, and they walk away. And we had the one, I don't know, were you on the one on Dalton, where they went, or on Stemple, where they went way down in the hole?
I was there initially, they were, what, 80 feet down?
Yeah, 80 feet down, straight down, they launched over the guardrail and flew 2 young girls and rolled all the way down. And when I was the first one on scene, when I got there, I was like, oh, this ain't good. But I was looking for who called 911, because I couldn't find it. I drove past it twice, and there was no one else around. So I hollered down there. They're just sitting in the car staying warm. Yeah, I mean, really very minor scrapes, and we had to, you know, get the ropes out and winch and everything to get them up out of there. And it's amazing what those seat belts can do. And I am one of the worst. Jesse will tell you, because every time I wave at him, I know he, oh, Zach, you got a seatbelt on. I'm getting better. In town, not as much, but on the highway, I'm getting to where about 99% of the time. 95. Okay, 99.
Go at 90.
And I know better. It's just hard habit to break, and you know, growing up in that age of we never wore them, and now I see what they do, and so it's no joke. Fire danger still there. The benefit we have now: shorter days, cooler nights, a little higher RH, relative humidity recovery at night. So the burn window during the day is shorter, but with the winds and then everything, you get them freezes at night. That what is left green is dead after a couple hard freezes. Then that's receptive fuels, and it's kind of like in the spring, the snow melts. You have all the dead grass from the previous summer, and it's that transition between winter and green up before everything starts growing again and turning green is the window, and we're kind of getting to that window now where everything that's green is going to be dying after a cold freeze. So burning is still closed, and it's because we have had no significant moisture whatsoever. I think we had a little bit earlier on in August, a couple of good days there, but these cells that go through, it's real spotty. McElwain fire over in Helmville. I mean, we got 5 drops the other night, and the McElwain fire got an inch of rain, and then the ranch right next to the McElwain fire got a 1/4 inch. So they're real spotty. So just because it rains here in Lincoln or on this at half of Lincoln, it doesn't mean it's a solid wetting event where it's gonna be the end of fire season, or they're just super spotty. So that end of town could burn, this end might not for 2 days. So just keep that in mind. That's why burning's still closed. Campfires are one thing. Campfires are split wood. You're sitting around drinking a beer, roasting marshmallows. Debris is where you're sitting around drinking beer and roasting marshmallows and putting your pine needles. That's not allowed. Pine needles float. So as they burn, they're light enough, they carry. Whereas a chunk of firewood doesn't. So please don't be burning it. I don't care if it's in your fire pit or not. It's still debris. It's not allowed to be burned. And we don't want to come visit you. Because we will turn your fire pit into a swimming pool. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Zach. Questions for Zach? You?
I do.
Oh, you do?
If I could.
Yes, please.
Figured I would take this time while he's still up here. Thank you much for the disaster and emergency coordinator. He and Autumn have been setting up after action reviews for these fires. They did one for Horse Gulch, they did one for the Black Mountain Fire. We did that yesterday. I'm gonna take this time, and on these meetings that you see here, we're gonna take plugs for quite some time until we get it across that we don't have an actual name. I tasked Zach, the 911 administrator, to come up with a very good name, because what we've been calling it is the name of the programs that it is. So what you may hear is reverse 911. That's what everybody always, oh, you're gonna get a message on reverse 911. Well, that's the program. So if we don't have that program, that's really not what it's called. So we're gonna come up with a good name of emergency notification. But what we need to plug at these meetings and every other meetings that we have is people need to sign up for that, whatever the program is, and we can get that out to everybody through this meeting, QR codes, different kind of thing, through Betsy over there, that kind of thing. We need people to sign up for that.
It's an opt-in program.
Yep, it is an opt-in program, but that is how you get your notifications on emergencies that happen, whether it be evacuations this time of year, whether it be floods at a different time of year, or whether it may be earthquakes at any time of the year.
Where do you sign up?
You can sign up on our website, the county website, it's always there. We've been doing this for quite some time, but we're trying to bring this back because I'm not sure of the percentage, but it's very low of the people who sign up for this. And it's very easy to do. Everybody has a cell phone, everybody has some sort of email, or even if you don't have a cell phone, you can sign up for your home phone. It's very easy to do, it takes a few minutes. You click on some things, answer a few questions, put your address and your name and your phone number in there, and you're signed up. And you will get these notifications long before we come knock at your door saying there's an emergency.
Are we still using Smart 911?
Yes, right now, our program is Smart 911. So that's how you would sign up. So if you go to the county website, there's a spot in there where you can sign up, or you can click on and get signed up for active 911. And if you need help, you can always call the sheriff's office. If you need help, you can call Betsy. If you need help, you can call Zach. There's several ways that you can get this done. We're just gonna be pushing this pretty hard, especially starting right now, all the way through the winter time. So we get as much people signed up for this as we can, so people can be notified. So, did I miss anything?
It's as detailed as you wanna make it. You know, you can put your name, address, phone number, whatever, and be done with it, or you can put in, hey, I have 3 horses, 2 dogs, a cat, and my elderly grandmother who's in a wheelchair. So that way, it has that information in there. We know that we're gonna have to get extra resources if we have to come and evacuate you. So it's what you make it. It's very simple. I've shared it over the years many times on the fire department Facebook page. But we'll get it fresh out there so that everybody can see it and don't have to look for it. Just be aware that the more that you can do to help yourself, it allows us to help you better as well. And always follow the fire department Facebook page, because a lot of this stuff from the Forest Service, from Betsy, you know, the sheriff's office, public information, DES, whoever, if it comes out, I share it on there so it's easier for you to find. You live here, you know, I'll tell you if Highway 200's got an avalanche, or, you know, whatever. I would just, it'd be a good idea. Have to give up one, give up Lincoln Live, and all of the fire department.
We would ask one thing from the public is to please pass that on to your
Sure.
neighbors. And maybe it's just because we're just trying to get out there every way that we can. So please pass that on.
Thank you, appreciate that. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Hughes? And I just follow up, you opened with the solid waste situation. Jenny and I were in that meeting, and so I'll just summarize and correct me where I go wrong. But essentially, Republic, right? Republic is the contractor. They're out of Great Falls, and they do the solid waste services up here. They told us at the meeting that the fees were going to go up, that they are going to raise their fees, and we essentially left the meeting with, but we're not exactly sure what that means and what the numbers are going to be and how we're going to address them. But we talked about taking the information they did give us. Our finance office is working on those numbers. Our procurement office is working on that. And we were going to reconvene at our next meeting, which is the quarterly meetings now, right? I think it was in November, right? We were going to reconvene and take next steps. But it's likely that the fees would be going up with our next budget season, right? Is that correct?
It would be.
Yeah, okay. So anything you want to add to that from your memory?
Sure.
We just want to let people know it's coming. We just, not much we can do. They told us they're raising their fees. We're either going to have to find a new provider or, negotiate fees that we can live with.
So yeah, Chairman, so in the solid waste, arena, and I'm not as familiar with the Lincoln, approach necessarily, but I'm certainly familiar with scratch gravel in the county and Lewis and Clark Land operations in Augusta.
Maybe you weren't on that meeting.
But I was on the call, Chairman, I followed up with Misty afterwards as well, just to get some more information. We were having the same issue in Augusta with the potential that their, Republic Services was gonna increase that contract haul rate and management of the waste, for collection for Augusta community, and we were struggling on that end as well. So they did, they had the contract renewal, they, came in with a proposal to increase the rate drastically. I think what they're trying to do is negotiate to kind of get that evened out and kind of figure out the term of that new contract. In the past, I know we've gone for 3 to 5 years, and so maybe it'll be a shorter commitment now, so that can determine what the assessment rate's gonna be. So it's a special district, and it's assessment rate that goes on your taxes for the services based upon solid waste, for those folks that have that collection services. What I talked to Misty about a little bit, and I think maybe she'll bring it to the November board meeting, is that from a county-wide perspective, we're working on an integrated solid waste master plan in the Helena area. And what that means is, how are we gonna manage waste within coordination of the city of Helena, East Helena, Lewis and Clark County, which includes Augusta, Marysville, Wolf Creek, and could eventually include Lincoln as well. What we're looking at is maybe adding another container site in Helena, which will then allow us to do more of a collection service base, because right now we are picking up the waste. The city of Helena, through an interlocal agreement, is picking up waste at Augusta and hauling it to the Lewis and Clark landfill. And what that's doing is helping with economy of scale, because we're all managing our own waste within the county. Our waste is our waste, it's going to our Lewis and Clark landfill, and we're able to try to keep those costs down holistically. So while that might not be a solution for Lincoln right away, just because, you know, the time is now to determine what that rate's gonna be, long term, I think we can try to collaborate a little bit more and figure out if there's a way that we can utilize the services we have in Helena with the coordination of the city of Helena's collection services and landfill, to maybe reduce that amount in the future, or not be so dependent upon the private sector on determining what those rates and services are. So.
Thanks, yeah, so more to come, but we just want to give people a heads up that we're working on it. It's gonna be, yeah, we have kind of blown back, so
Super shock.
yeah, so.
I have a question. What does Powell County do with their solid waste?
Powell County probably, it's hard to say where the local, it could either go to
Does
Butte,
that
it could either go to Butte, or it could go to potentially Missoula, I would imagine.
Okay, I was just wondering if that might be something to look into, rather than, it's a long ways to Helena. And but just to see if there might be another way.
Right, and Chairman, we also have to be, Chairman and Commissioner Payne, we have to be really careful, because the solid waste is a utility-based organization. So with water and wastewater and solid waste, and even with energy costs, it's managed by the Public Service Commission, PSC. And so we jurisdictionally have certain coverage areas that we can manage where that's at. So if Powell County doesn't have the ability to have the PSC, we have to go back to the PSC, expand that, which can open up a lot of can of worms. And
Yes.
we just kind of have to be careful.
But we're checking out, so thanks.
Yep, we're checking out.
Anything else, Zach? Yes, sir.
One more quick thing, and it's just a simple thing. We get a lot of calls, whether it be fire, EMS, right now it's the fire issues. Tell your friends and neighbors, learn where north, south, east, and west are. And in Lincoln, it's very simple, but something so simple as, well, it's east of town. Well, that puts everybody going east of town, and then meanwhile, either the wreck or the flood or the fire is burning west of town, or there's a rollover at, 6 miles west of Lincoln. Well, we all go 6 miles west of Lincoln, and then all of a sudden we go actually to 10 miles and still can't find anything, and then everybody's doing the reverse, and lights and sirens going that way, trying to figure out where this is. So please learn north, south, east, west before you dial that 911 call.
Thank you. How about questions for community council? Really appreciate you and the others that serve on community council. Thank you all. They are your voice here in Lincoln, and the reason, one of the big reasons they exist is so that Lincoln has, folks in Lincoln have a place to go to talk about the issues in Lincoln, and then they can have kind of a coordinated effort to bring that to us because we're not here all the time. And we really want to try and make decisions that have been discussed in Lincoln, and we're trying to act in your best interest. So please use your community council and participate in community council. All right, Mr. Yarbrough, welcome, Forest Service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Jim Yarbrough, Lincoln District Ranger, Helena, Park National Forest. A couple things before I get to the fires. Our trail crews have been doing quite a bit of deferred maintenance on trails in the wilderness and outside the wilderness. Roughly around $10,000, $12,000 worth this year, in addition to the normal trail work. They cleared the trail up on Sandbar, the new motorized trail area, but the tread's not in place yet. The tread won't go in place, won't start being constructed until next year. So that's the trail side of things. We are doing the National Forest Management Act, or NIFMA, side of things for the Ogden Foreman project. So we'll go out there, look at, see what we have available, what can we do with this landscape, and try to bring those stands of timber and that landscape back into compliance with the forest plan. So we're working on that. That project area, currently the polygon starts at Nevada Ogden Road and goes to South Fork, or goes to Foreman or Simple Pass, essentially, and Foreman South Fork area. It comes onto this side of that ridge and the south side of that ridge on the other side of Dalton Mountain. Includes Dalton Mountain and Ogden Mountain both. The Black Mountain Fire. The Black Mountain Fire is in control status. We heard folks up there yesterday patrolling it. They called it on the radio, so they're still looking at it, still keeping an eye on things. We are currently not doing a lot with the suppression repair piece, but we will, starting probably at the end of this month. So they had to come into the heel of the fire on the mountain bike trail from the west side, and they brought a dozer in to do that, and we'll repair that, put that back into a mountain bike trail. And we'll close the roads that have been closed by the travel management decision, put those back into maintenance level 1, and everything else is currently open in that area. All the travel restrictions have been lifted for the Black Mountain Fire area. The Marsh Creek Fire. So on the Marsh Creek Fire, it's RIC and RIC trainee yesterday figured it's up to about 100 acres, so maybe 10 acres of growth in the last 2 days. Since, not yesterday's email, but the email before that I sent. I didn't send an email today because I'm here. So about 10 acres, what's happening is there's so much dead and down over there and so much fuel available that when 10 acres goes up, it looks like more than 10 acres is going up. So it produces quite a bit of smoke for a little bit of ground burn. The activity yesterday was on the south edge of the fire. It actually started in the southwest corner and then just carried all the fire underneath it just a little bit. So whatever's remaining is actually going to burn up into the main body of the fire. This fuel type has a potential to spot out in front a long way. And so what happened was the first few days it burnt actually on an east wind and it forced the ember wash down onto the north slope. And those spots are still trying to get hold on the north slope. The north slope isn't totally receptive to fire yet, but it is smoldering. So you'll see white smoke coming off the north slopes a lot right now, not a big rolling black smoke coming up on the north slopes. We have a trail closure in place. Sent that out, so the CDT is closed from Myers Trailhead on the Helena district to Stemple Pass on the Lincoln district. And the reason we close that a little bit early is because it takes folks 2 to 3 days to get through that stretch of ground. And we want them out of there in the event that we get a hardcore west wind or a thunder cell winds that are produced down, or cell collapses and a lot of people in there. We don't want that. So we said, no, we're closing it early. The Nevada Creek Trail is closed. The trail, Gould, what is it,
Helmville Gould.
The Helmville Gould Trail is closed. And there's a trail that ties the Nevada Creek Trail and Helmville Gould Trail together. That's also closed. We have signs posted at the Nevada Creek Cabin Trail, and Myers Hill Trailhead, Marsh Creek Trailhead, Simple Pass, and in the post office. And that's on our website as well. So that's, today, you're gonna see a little more firework today. The IC and IC training told me you'll probably start seeing stuff around 1300, and then usually about, 1700, 1800, 5, 6 o'clock, that thing starts cooling off and it slows down. So today a little earlier because the relative humidities are down slightly, temperatures up a little bit, and direct sunlight. If we get any shading from any of the fires out west or any cloud cover, that'll slow that fire down a lot. If the fire starts getting warm on the east side, we put a helicopter on it, and it's being directed to locations by eyes out there on the ground that are in a safe place north of the fire, north of the range, right away from it. So they're doing it with binoculars. I think that's about what I have for now. The trail closure will be in place for the archery, first week of archery season, probably the second week of archery season. That's gonna be inconvenient for some archery hunters, but that's what we're doing for the public safety. So that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Yarmouth? I had an experience with your trail closure. So I was driving up Fletcher Pass Road and there's a guy walking.
Oh, yeah.
I said, hey, how you doing? He's checking in with you. I'm walking the Continental Divide Trail from Mexico to Canada, and he said I had to go around the closure. And so I said, well, you want to ride at the top of the pass? No, I'm walking the whole thing. I'm not going to take a ride. So he's been walking from Mexico, not taking a ride anywhere.
A lot of them will not take that ride.
Yeah.
And they might come back and actually finish it next year.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So
I do have one more thing, sir.
I blamed it on you.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take it.
There's this guy.
Send him the, like, that guy down there.
No, go ahead.
I do have one more thing. I have a map. I brought a map of the fire and the fire area and what we're doing down in the, we are doing fields work around the private homes, private property, down in the North Fork of Little Prickly Pear Creek and South Fork of Little Prickly Pear. And that masticator, it's a fuels job. It's not a logging job. That masticator's doing much of work. We're moving fuels and shipping the rest of it around those private homes down there. And those folks in there have done an excellent job with their properties, mitigating fuels down there. So our firefighters look at that and they're thinking, yes, we can, this is giving us something to work with. They're going to bring that masticator and one of those hand crews around to South Fork Foreman and start doing the same thing at South Fork Foreman. I think that's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. So I've got a map. I can show all that stuff to you, and anybody who wants to see it afterward. That's okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Any questions? Really appreciate the emails as well. Thank you for that. It helps a lot. Yes, sir.
One thing kind of just to add on to
Please.
what Jim was saying, just to give you an example of the danger that's in there. 40 tons an acre of dead and down is a lot. You're looking at 80 tons an acre up there that is either down or standing. And when you have miles of that to get to the fire that you have to go through, I mean, you can't just dump people off in the middle of that, because if it turns, these cells produce outflow winds, so everything's out of the west, the cell comes in, it can be out of the east, north, south, west, it doesn't matter. There's nowhere for anyone to run. And you're talking days and days of work just to get a clipper to clip their way into a fire like this because of the thickness of it. Well, a clipper runs about 2 miles an hour, that fire turns, how do you get that person out of there? And a lot of times they'll mitigate that with having a 4-wheeler chase vehicle or something, ATV, UTV. But it's the conditions of that area, it's recommended wilderness area. So there really hasn't been any work done, and because it is wilderness, or treated as wilderness, there's just no way to safely put people in there close enough to be able to do anything. And you can put air resources on it, and I see it on Facebook all the time. Why didn't you hit it with aircraft and put this thing out? There ain't a fire out there that's gonna be put out by aircraft alone. Does not happen. It's kind of like taking a bucket and throwing a bucket of water on a raging campfire. You come back in an hour, it's burning again. If you don't get somebody in there to mix it up and, you know, turn all that wood and stumps and get them all out. So just keep that in mind when people are talking about dropping smoke jumpers in there, or repellers, or cutting their way into it. There's places in these woods, and a lot of them, that it's just too flat dangerous, and it's kind of the risk versus reward. Are you gonna risk the lives of those people for one reward, getting in there and getting killed, or barely even be able to do anything because they can't get close enough to that fire? It's just, unfortunately, because of people suing and stopping all these projects that, you know, they try to put in. You just said where they're trying to put in the one up on, between Ogden and Stemple and all that. Well, then it gets sued, it's done. You know, hopefully not, but kind of like Stonewall. They sue, they stop these projects because of a three-toed spotted tree frog, and then they get the blame. You know, the Forest Service gets the blame for not doing the work. Well, they're trying, but Congress, our leaders, are the ones that need to fix this and take that ability for the litigators to get paid to do this, because that's all they're doing for it, is a job. They're not doing it to save the people, they're not doing it to increase the health of the forest, they're not doing it to save the grizzly bears. I don't care what they say. They're doing it to pad their pockets and keep their job, so.
Thanks, Zach.
Anything else?
Yeah, on that fire out there, Zach made a very good point. There are no safety zones, there are no landing zones, there are no escape routes out of that country. My IC is a hell attack repeller, an ex-hell attack repeller, and my IC trainee is an ex-hotshot. Those are the two people we would call to put in there, and they came to me and said, there are no values at risk in that area. There's no reason to increase the risk to our firefighters, because there are no values at risk within that immediate area. The nearest values at risk are 3.4 miles to the east in the North Fork of Little Creek.
Yeah, so the things that, I guess put it this way, assuming that it doesn't threaten private property and/or structures, infrastructure, this fire could be healthy for this landscape. Is that accurate?
It could be, but the rationale for us not putting firefighters in there is safety driven.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm just, that's a kind of an extra
Yes, sir, that's a benefit.
side benefit, yeah.
That's our rationale is strictly for the firefighters.
Understood, absolutely, yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I think people need to be really aware that each one of those firefighters is somebody's son or daughter. I don't want my son out there or my daughter out there. They're both, really physically fit, and they, by golly, charge hell with a water bucket. But their mother is not gonna be, don't send them, thank you, be aware that these are human beings, and he touches other lives rather than somebody's insurance policy, which is, I assume they have higher rates to insure their homes when they're out there. But just have to look out for the real warning.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
All right, any questions for the Forest Service? You come on up to the, thank you very much, I appreciate it. All right, Public Works.
Thanks, Chairman and Commissioners, again, Jenny Chambers, Lieutenant County Director. A few things to pass along to you guys today. Some road work up in the Lincoln area. The focus right now is just fall grading. So we're doing the cycle again where we do the spring and we grade all summer long. Well, now we're doing the tail ends of fall to prepare for snow and snow removal. Yesterday I drove up here and came up Stemple and did the Heron Creek detour. And he was currently grading the Helena side of Stemple Pass Road. So that's where the road department is for your guys' area up here right now. But also, you might have known or noticed that we received about 3,500 cubic yards of millings from the MDT project at Fletcher Pass. So when MDT was doing Fletcher Pass, we had agreement with the Montana Department of Transportation that the county would get those millings for that operation. They're stockpiled right now and stored at the Lincoln County shop. It's a pretty good pile of those. We're still trying to determine what we're going to do with them in this general area, just trying to work it through different options, and once we kind of determine that, we'll get public feedback on what our approach may be and what we're going to do with those millings moving forward. We also finished some of the work around Lincoln shop. We have an agreement with the neighboring landowner just to kind of clean up that area a little bit and finish the fence around the property. He allowed us to extend our lease a little bit further onto their property, and that's kind of where the millings and stuff are stored. So that's been all done, and the fence is in place. It looks really good out there, and good coordination with our neighbor there on the Lincoln shop. Just to follow up a little on what Zach said regarding the weeds, yeah, that came up at community council. So just to give you a little bit of some statistics within the weed program, we're wrapping up our noxious weed season as well. We have about 8 seasonal sprayers throughout the year. Most of them are college kids that come back and just help us out doing county road spraying and spraying of noxious weeds within our county lands. This year to date so far, we've probably got about another month of spraying. A little over 1,300 miles of roads were managed across the county, and that was over 6,800 gallons of herbicide were sprayed. So that just kind of gives you the volume of how much material we're putting down. There's other forms of management that we've been doing. Of course, with noxious weeds, you can mow. So we do mow our right-of-ways on our paved surfaces. And we also do biocontrol. So we do biocontrol collections throughout the year, whether that's spotted knotweed or beetles for other targeted species of weeds, and we release those in certain county areas or hotspots we know within the county, and that does help long term. You might not see immediate benefit from those biocontrol bugs, but it does help over the long term if you get within those areas. So biocontrol is a major area that we're looking at to try to increase and get other landowner participation in that. And then Zach mentioned, non-compliance. We do take non-compliance reporting. If it's not anonymous, you have to provide your name. We don't want necessarily neighbors tattling on neighbors, but if there are noxious weed issues across the county, let us know. What we do is we take a more compliance assistance approach. So it's not necessarily a violation letter or heavy hammer. It's more of, here's a letter, here's education outreach, here's what we can do for you in the Lewis and Clark County Noxious Weed Program, education and outreach, and kind of help you identify how to help manage that within your property. And that's what we've done here in Lincoln for the areas that have been identified for some of those landowners. So that's the weed arena. And then just a little bit on the road prioritization effort in the rural improvement district. So this is a very, very large county, as you guys all know. There's a lot of roads that the county does not maintain. We maintain a lot of roads up in Lincoln area that if I went back and really took a hard look at those, some of those might not even be county roads. It's just historically kind of what's morphed over time. So as we get a lot of growth in the county and new people move into different areas, they might wonder, why is that road being maintained and mine road's not being maintained? So as collectively as a group within the road department, we're evaluating what's called road prioritization. All the roads that we have, all the roads we're currently maintaining, we're trying to figure out what that jurisdiction is and what the authority is. Doesn't mean we're going to stop doing maintenance, but we're starting to have conversations with neighboring roads or areas that really the only people that utilize those roads are the people that live on that road. So in the Helena Valley, for instance, and this is across the county, we have over 157 rural improvement districts. Up in Lincoln here, you have 3. But as a whole, as a county, we have 157. And by having those kind of conversations, they can either not have maintenance or do maintenance themselves as a homeowners association or form a rural improvement district so that they're getting the services they want on their road. A lot of the times in my response is I say, if you don't like the maintenance the county's able to provide because we have a lot of roads to maintain, we can talk to you about what that looks like for your particular road. And it's increasing drastically. I think we have 8 to 10 this year that are getting formed. So that 157 is going to go up to 165 plus. And so there's a lot of growth in that area based upon people taking responsibility for their own road and kind of looking at what's needed, because we have to prioritize where we're able to go and with the crews we have available with resources. So they can always reach out to me. I've got great staff that are able to talk with them about that as well. But the Rural Improvement District program is getting a lot of traction across the county, and a lot of good work's being done with just road improvements over time. The last thing I'm going to touch base on are the bridges. We have 2 major bridge projects going up here in the Lincoln area. One is Stemple Bridge over Corman Creek. That's not necessarily a county project. We're in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and Trout Unlimited, Upper Blackfoot Trout Unlimited. That project is wrapping up. We're actually going to be a walkthrough this afternoon. It's kind of the punch list of construction completion, because the owner of that bridge is going to be the county, because it's a county road. So we're got a couple staff up here coming this afternoon to walk through and do that sign off. There was a detour in place, but the detour is now closed. It's the road, the bridge is open. That work is wrapping up as far as completion. It looks pretty good. So if you ever get a chance to drive on Simple Pass Road, it'll be a huge improvement for fisheries and for the restoration projects underneath that area. And then the last one is Dalton Mountain Bridge. Went out there yesterday as well. They actually got the trusses delivered on the one side of the deck and started putting those up. It's an 80 to 85 foot free span bridge. So that's going to go over that whole area, and they're making great progress on it. I think they're going to definitely be on schedule to be completed when they anticipate it being completed. Again, that's an off-system bridge project with the Montana Department of Transportation. Very large scale, been a long time in the coming, but there's great progress going on out there on that road. And then the detour is in pretty good shape, because I drove it yesterday just to make sure that we didn't have to do any maintenance or coordination with MDT on that. But that's making great progress, and I think commissioners might go out and take a look at it today before they leave. And it's just, they're making good progress on it. So any questions?
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? All right.
Still on track for being completed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, yeah, they're making great progress on it, and the delivery, I mean, what was the concern was whether or not the delivery of the trusses were gonna come on schedule with the timing of everything being delivered and having delays, and then the other big one's gonna be the bridge deck. But yeah, as long as they stay on schedule with those things, I think we'll be completed when they anticipate being completed.
What's the date?
I knew somebody was gonna ask me that, Chairman. I know it was like 165 days from the start date was the construction period thing, so I still think we're November-ish, but, for final sign-off and completion. I don't know if they're gonna open it ahead of time, but it's still a little ways out.
Jason, the foreman, he's their best bridge guy, and he's pushing for mid-October.
Okay.
If the timing is right, but they have till in middle, 3rd week of November. I think
That's
is-
what I was thinking for some reason, the mid to late November.
He's doing everything he can to get that thing done for as early as possible.
Yeah, and they're making great progress.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Oh, yes, sir.
I do have to take off this hat and put on my citizen hat for just a minute. It'll take a second. I'm just wondering if they can throw some more mag chloride on, or if that's the plan for that area. Because I noticed when I was up here last weekend that it's pretty dusty for those citizens on that side of Dalton and then onto Heron Lake Road.
Mr. Chairman, citizen Rick Colbert, I'll check with MDT. So we had to negotiate with MDT on even getting some of the mag applied on the first round. They're gonna do it at the tail end of the project with completion. And I really pushed hard to say if the county can rush out there and get it graded, can they get a level of mag down there? So I don't know if they're gonna have in their contract to do a level mag, but what I can also check on to see if we have any extra supply available for the end of our season. Maybe give them a shot from the county supply that we have available. So I'll look at both of those options and see if it's possible.
Thank you.
If it rains next week, it'll be moved, because
Yes.
they'll bring that mag right back out. The problem is it's so dry that mag doesn't do anything if you can't get it, keep it wet sometimes.
So hope for rain. All right. Anything else for Public Works? All right, Public Health. Pam's here today. You can reintroduce yourself and pass out your stuff.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, commissioners, for having me. My name is Amber Johnson. I'm with Water Public Health. Happy to be here with you today. I've got a handful of handouts, a couple of them that I'm going to pass around. So if you guys want to just send some this way. And I'm here today to talk about booze, one of our favorite Montana pastimes. So, we've recently started an alcohol awareness campaign for public health. Now, the chief aim of that campaign is not to shame anyone for drinking alcohol, vilify alcohol, or tell people to stop drinking alcohol. The chief aim is really to encourage moderation. Montana leads the country in heavy drinking. And so the chief aim of this awareness program is to encourage moderation as well as champion sobriety for people who are struggling with alcohol dependence or alcoholism. So it's going to be a bit of a 3-4 phase program. But I just kind of wanted to introduce this campaign to you and then ask for your participation, because I do think that community solutions require community participation. So just a handful of different data and facts about alcohol use and alcohol itself in general, as well as here in Lewis and Clark County and the state of Montana. So it's interesting, I think psychologically we try to differentiate alcohol from drugs, when in fact alcohol is a drug. It's a psychotropic drug that shares many similarities to an illegal substance like cocaine. Again, the point here is not to shame people or keep them to stop from drinking. I think a lot of us here, probably most of us here, can use but not misuse alcohol to gather, to socialize, to recreate. That is pretty common, and I'm sure, like myself included, I enjoy a good glass of wine and a craft cocktail. But it's, I think, important to realize that alcohol is a drug, and it does have some negative social and physical consequences if it's obviously out of control. And that, includes like physical ills like heart disease, cancer, liver disease, be it a cause or be it that it amplifies those physical ills, as well as social ills that like we just heard from the highway patrol today about vehicle crashes and deaths often caused by drug and alcohol use and DUIs. Obviously that is a social problem, but also turns into a public health crisis when people are injured or they're killed, be it they injure or kill themselves or someone else. As well as, if you read the local newspaper, and I'm sure we can talk to the sheriff's department, DUIs and domestic violence tend to rise to the surface as far as crises or public safety, public health issues in our community. While we know that alcohol does in fact cause DUIs, it does not cause domestic violence. However, it can amplify that social ill as well. So some interesting data about alcohol is that of the five states that lose the most years to alcohol-related deaths, most of them are in the West, and Montana is in the top 5. And so we obviously have a culture of drinking here. Again, the point of this alcohol awareness campaign is not to shame anyone or take their beer, but it's just to bring awareness to the fact that it's probably healthier, we'll be healthier and happier if we drink less. And find ways to gather and to celebrate with less alcohol instead of more. Just as a way to, continue to create a healthier and happier place to live for all of us. So, we, again, want to take a community approach to this campaign. Everyone here has an alcohol story. And if you would be willing to share that story with us, we would love to hear from you. So you'll notice I less is more poster, as well as a link. We have created a questionnaire. There's a handful of just really easy questions to answer, and then there's some narrative questions. And we would love to hear from you about, you know, like if you're willing to share your alcohol story, if you're willing to, you know, share your ideas about how we can, you know, put on more sober events in our community. Because the truth is, alcohol is the water that we swim in. Even going to family-friendly events, they all serve alcohol. You know, we even take our children with us to bars and to pubs, which again is not intended to shame, but let's put a light on it and start talking about it. We just did a community-wide health survey. It was door to door. We were here back in the summer talking about it. It was called the Casper assessment. And those results have not been published yet, but I will tell you that one of the biggest concern of all Lewis and Clark County residents, from Augusta to Lincoln to Helena, was alcohol and substance misuse. And I think it's just hard to talk about because, especially because I mean, of all the drugs and alcohol, alcohol is the most widely used. And if people struggle with problematic drinking or someone in their family does, it can be embarrassing or shameful when and so people don't want to talk about it, but everybody knows it's a problem. And so this campaign is just a means of starting a conversation about it. Get people to start talking about it so that as a community that we can create solutions together. So I would encourage you before the end of the day, before leaving here, you can scan, there's a QR code on a poster. Jenny, would you like to be on that? Sure. There's a QR code, you can scan it on your phone, and it might take 10 minutes to fill out. Just if you have 10 minutes to give, just share your thoughts, your stories, your experiences, so that the hope and dream is that we'll have some community conversations about alcohol use and misuse in our county in dry January of next year, and then start together, you know, creating an idea of how we can encourage moderation. Again, I'm not a teetotaler. I'm not here telling you to stop drinking, but the message might be just drink less, because we know that heavy drinking, even if you don't have a problem with alcohol, heavy drinking can still, you know, just amplify problems with heart disease and cancer and things like that we would rather avoid. So that's all I have to say about that. Do you have any questions or comments for me before I move on?
Questions, comments, Commissioners? Public comment? All right, then you got more.
I do. I have one more announcement, and this might be a long haul for Lincoln residents. However, if you are interested in traveling to the big city of Helena for a night of interesting civic entertainment and conversation, we are hosting a 4-part film series and community conversation at the Merlot in Helena. It's called The Invisible Shield. It's really just, it's a 4-part series about public health, what public health is, who we are, what we do, why it's so important, and then just the struggles, challenges, and threats to public health in our modern age and moving forward. So, if should you be interested, the first one is this coming Tuesday night. We'll have an hour of film from 6:30 to 7:30, and then an hour of facilitated conversation from 7:30 to 8:30. This is a way for us to really get some face time and conversation with residents in our community. So I'd encourage you, if you're in the area and you would like to attend or drive down, we'd love to have you join us. I'm happy if I'll leave these over here if you'd like to grab one of them. Again, we would love to hear from anyone and everyone as part of that conversation.
Thank you.
It is like the same night as the presidential debate, which is sad because we're gonna, but that will be recorded. Our conversation next Tuesday will not be recorded. So if you have, if you're here, you're probably
Questions? Anybody? Questions? One on the survey
Yes.
for the questionnaire. If I fill it out, how much of my identifying information is,
Good question.
somebody might have concerns about that.
So, we have a few options, should you fill out, especially the narrative section. The first section, it wouldn't be, it's just gonna be data, with no names. However, there is a narrative section, and you have three options for the narrative section. If you choose to share, and we're really encouraging people to share their stories and to share their thoughts. One, you can use your real name, if you want to. Two, you can use an alias. You know, give yourself the name that you always want to. And three, you can also just choose to remain anonymous, and we'll just label it as anonymous. So there's, because again, this can be a tricky topic that people, you know, are concerned about, don't necessarily want to talk about publicly. So brings
Yeah, I
up a
just
lot of-
asked that because just to
Yeah.
raise people's,
Alias, real name, anonymous, your choice. We still hope that you'll participate, so.
Thank you very much. Any questions for public health? So if people remember, public health is now part of our Lincoln and Augusta meeting agenda, and each month they bring a different topic to the top of that. So this is this month's topic, and thank you. Appreciate it. Yes. All right. Commissioner Rolfe, I think the next one is something you put on the agenda, right? Under other
Yeah,
business, you want to make that announcement?
Yeah, I just wanted to, let you all know that Roger Day has joined the Lewis and Clark County Heritage Tourism Council, and is really interested in making some history about the Lincoln area. We're going to be actually having a meeting on September 17th at 4 o'clock here in this room. And Zach, isn't your community council right after that?
Yeah.
So might tie into that if you want to come to both. Encourage Roger. He seems pretty excited about doing it, and the rest of the group that is involved there is really excited about having somebody from Lincoln represent the interests of the Lincoln community on the historic preservation. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any questions about that? All right. Representative Worth, any wisdom you want to lay on us today? I'll give you an opportunity since you're here. If you'd like, I
can comment on a few things.
If you come up here, pretty please. Thank you. Since, you know, you guys made the rule, we're gonna make you follow it.
That is one of the things I was going to say.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Following the rules.
We're so glad you're here. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm Zach Worth. I live down by the Seaman Interchange in Lewis and Clark County. Fourth generation, fifth generation on both sides of my families. And I represent House District 80, which under the new reapportionment, Lincoln stays in my district. And I'm grateful for that. We've known, most of the people I knew in Lincoln all passed. It's kind of difficult when you're my age. So, one comment on insects, and knapweed and stuff. These insects and these bios are absolutely doing us on our ranch. I actually bought 3 units of root borers, and actually I had a hard time finding places to put them out at on the ranch. We've been doing it for 6 years now, and I would say we have a 70% reduction in that. In combined with spraying. We can spray with the easy stuff, where you can drive to, we can spray. I'm talking about places that you can't get to. And in the forest, when you're talking about in these places, you know, it takes time, and I can't imagine how many bugs you would buy for that. Are you collecting yourself?
Mr. Chairman, to answer Representative Ward's question, yes. So we have different collection events. A lot of them have taken place more in Missoula but we have been sending people over from staff in Missoula to help with those collection events so that we can have stuff to help disseminate in Lewis and Clark County.
Well, that would help lower that cost a lot,
Mhm.
but I've been buying from Missoula. so,
Okay.
all the time. Secondly, seatbelts. I don't think a greater incentive for me on seatbelts is that if you are not wearing your seatbelt and you're involved in an accident that is not even anywhere close to your responsibility, your fault. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, the insurance company's gonna grab at you. And for me, that's an incentive enough that if I'm going to be, if something is gonna happen, then I don't want any little detail. I don't want a taillight out. I don't want to not be wearing my seatbelt. Because then it's very clear that the other person was responsible for that event. And for me, that just nails it. I put my seatbelt on to go to the mailbox. Because if something happens, I don't want to be anywhere near, and somebody else isn't responsible. It's been since '83 since I've had a ticket, and I've never had an accident in my life, except for a year. So, knock on wood, I agree with all that. But there are incentives out there, and we can create incentives that can register in people's mind more than we are. I don't know what that is. It's different for every single person. So, I'm an advocate, big advocate for some of these turning deals. Like we've got one up in near Fairfield where there's been a fatality in the last 7 to 8 months, where we have four-way crosses. We have a four-way cross at Bowman's Corner. They're still doing a study on that, and that. I am on the Department of Transportation subcommittee or intercommittee in there, and become fascinated by some of the things that we're doing in there. The future in the scuttlebutt is platooning, so automated driving is coming, and we are not prepared legislatively to address that. And so I'm actually going back to Fargo, North Dakota to watch platooning, where they're hauling sugar beets, and one truck driver and the truck follows behind with a 98,000-pound load of sugar beets. They're going 20 some odd miles. Takes cooperation from the Department of Justice, takes Department of Transportation, and general public and awareness. North Dakota permits this, Minnesota doesn't. We're gonna observe that. And anything else? I'm interested in all types of things. I've got a world of life experiences, and I'm very shy speaking here.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And
Well, we're grateful for you being here, Representative, and if you're willing to take questions, if there are any
I am.
questions from the commission or from the public, if there's any questions, commission.
I just thought that maybe the people would be interested in what that new district that you represent looks like.
Oh, sure. It starts at Mullen Pass, where it follows the railroad track. It kind of comes down to the Austin Bird's Eye corner, runs up that road a little ways, and then cuts across the center part of your scratch gravel, those scratch gravel hills. Comes down John G. Mine Road, runs up to Lincoln, goes down to Applegate, stair steps all the way to the interstate, but it does not include Bob's Valley Market, it doesn't include West Valley Fire Department buildings, any of that. Catches the interstate, goes all the way on the spine of that hill, North Hills, down to the Lewis and Clark County lines, includes the base of the mountains and Lewis and Clark County. Runs all the way up the northern part of Lewis and Clark County to Teton County, and right on the road, when you're real close to the Sun River there at Sims, there's a couple lines in there, catches, I forget the name of the highway that goes, it's 89, and the Sims cutoff road is 431? 431, up by Sims.
Oh.
I think it's 431, but
Sims to Augusta, or Sims up
Sims
to
to
Fairfield?
Fairfield.
Oh,
431, yeah. Anyway, there was a fatality there about 7 or 8 months ago. Then it zigzags all the way to the Ponderay County line, just west of Conrad. And then as it goes, it follows that highway all the way up and includes Penroy, Bynum, goes all the way up to the Continental Divide in the middle of the Bob Marshall Wilderness, includes Shogo, Fairfield, Augusta, Craig, Wolf Creek, Lincoln, North Helena Valley. It does not include Canyon Creek. They actually just reapportionmented, cut out Canyon Creek and put that into the Powell County.
In Hubble?
Well, the representative for that area, I forget who the two candidates are running for the House of Representatives there. My opponent is Leonard Bates, Democratic, and we've met and we've had some nice conversations, all is well.
Well, thank you.
The other question is that I know you've been real interested in that intersection on Highway 200 and trying to get some extra work done from the highway department there. Now, you might share about that a little bit.
I've asked the county commissioners, and of course I nagged the Department of Transportation to begin with because I didn't know how to do it any better. And we're still waiting on results from that. My personal experience is when I was 15 years old, 6 young people my same age from Pennsylvania and New Jersey were killed there. And just happened, and for whatever reason, I don't recall, my dad and I drove through there, and there were still parts of the wreckages, etc. But 6 kids in one event. That was in 1966. Now, Sheriff Dave Middlebuss was the sheriff those days, and he literally, the newspaper clipping said, in tears, he said there has to be an overpass here. And in 66, the interstate highway was taken, sucking all the money. So almost corners been ignored for many, many years. You start counting crosses, and then you start counting crosses, a mile left, right, north and south. And the deputy sheriff from Lincoln, who, he says most of his calls are from that area right now. Because a lot of it, and they're just, I'm out of gas, I'm this, I got a flat tire. Well, it's a lot of small stuff. But it's a large area with the worst Montana weather that you can imagine. That has a 4-way cross and is very tough. There was an accident without a fatality back in March. And then somebody told me there was one 2 weeks ago. I don't have any verification for that.
Generally, the crashes that occur from Bowman's Corner recently are coming from 287, people traveling across 287 that don't see the stop sign, the flashing red lights, don't fill the rumble strips, I don't know how. The majority of people are from out of state and they're following a GPS that says there is no stop. I don't know what's happening where they're not seeing all of that. But that's generally the trend is drivers from out of state not stopping on 287.
I've read those comments, yes. I always said ever since I was 20 or even 16, when these accidents occurred. There is still a survivor. I did actually find a survivor. I didn't reach out or anything like that. But there is a survivor still alive back in Pennsylvania. What a thing to live with.
Just an interesting fact on that, those rumble strips and those flashing lights came in from local Lincoln Highway Patrol. Scott Zarsky, when he was still working for Highway Patrol, he was one of the biggest instigators in getting those rumble strips and those flashing lights put in because of the danger.
Well, that's an interesting comment. An engineer from the Department of Transportation in those days, Earl Murphy, was the one that actually designed those. And I can tell you, in the bright sunlight, I was through there yesterday, yesterday, going up to get an empty weight at Milford Colony, get a load of hay, and then get back. And it's real. We just get pushed back on our ways. And it's in the Great Falls district. It's not in the district. Anyway, if I can just nudge the needle up, I'm sure open to it. But there's also others. If you listen, there's also some issues with why haven't they finished those curves coming out of Helena Valley towards Canyon Creek, those curves, right by Angus Brown's old place. You know, you see.
If you look at their extended project plan, it looks like they're gonna widen it 12 feet, I think. It's like, if you're gonna widen it 12 feet, why don't you straighten the whole thing? And that's in like 2028, I think, is when they were talking about doing it.
I read that. The other thing, they did all the prep and moved the utilities back. It's almost 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I'm guessing.
They were gonna reroute it behind Bill Garing's there, and that obviously is out the window because they're building a whole bunch of new houses right where they were gonna put the road, so that must have went away.
Oh, I see, I remember when you were building the houses. I know Bill Gearing built a home there for his mother. That's the only one I knew about that.
Just this side of it, between him and the railroad tracks, there's more houses being built up on top of the hill and stuff.
Well, again, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Any other questions, comments for Representative Gordon? Thank you. Okay,
We hope you'll come back,
yeah.
Zach, this is really nice. to have you.
This was difficult because I have a job.
Real good.
Well, we appreciate it.
And it does make me tired.
All right, we're at that time in our meeting where we will take public comment on any matter that is under the jurisdiction of the commission but not on today's agenda. And so I see one finger going up.
Just a quick go back, or whatever, I remembered something. So DOT is going to, or not DOT, whoever the contractor is, Fleischer will get chip sealed next year. So just keep in mind, well, it's gotta sit for a certain amount of time, especially when they do a whole milling like that. Plus they started 3 weeks after they could have, or were scheduled to. So that's gonna be really slick all the way along. It's just smooth surface. And then when they do it, they're gonna go from 200 all the way down to Wilburn, where it meets 279 there. And then I've heard that they're gonna be doing Rogers or parts of Rogers as well. So I don't know that, so our one big year of construction this year is gonna be next year too. So just keep that in mind this winter when you're driving on Fleischer, that it's gonna be slick. When they get slush and rain and snow on it.
The whole bit, yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Any other public comment?
Yeah,
Please, come on up.
it's for the Forest Service. Is there any progress or anything on that, is there any progress on that,
Pat, you just say your name again for the record.
that hay?
Thank you, sir.
Is there any progress on the Copper Creek pothole nightmare?
Oh, yeah, so,
Come on up, Jim. Sorry.
the Copper Creek Road rehab project, the bids, they went out, on what's called a MATOC contract. It's basically a contract where a bunch of contractors were part of it, and they're usually the better of the contractors. And it went out for those folks to bid, and the bid came back at double and more than the engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate was multi-million. And so we went back out to the general opening and they did it, and those bids that went out that time, or came back in that time, were even more than the one that came off the MATOC. So, we're probably not gonna pave it. We're probably gonna grind it up and put it back in the gravel.
Okay.
That's what the prices are showing us. So it's being resubmitted to the engineering firm that did the design work to redesign it, to grind it, bury it, and put a gravel surface on it. And I think that's where we are right now, with the prices of with the clearing prices of dual road work today.
Thank you.
Good question, Pat.
Yeah.
Thank you. I forgot about that.
All right. Any other comment? Any other comment? Okay, hearing no other comment, thank you all very much. We will stand adjourned. See you next month.